ad linked on Infowars.com. It's also up on PrisonPlanet.com. We've sent it out on Twitter at Real Alex Jones, and it's going up on our Facebook. It's Syria, U.S.-aided terrorist in chemical attack, and their minister says Europe is next. And he's also updated it. It's about to refresh with WorldNet Daily's article from yesterday with the video of known certified Western jihadi-backed sites loading the chemical warheads in the mortars. And chattering about how wonderful bin Laden is and how they're going to kill Americans next. Most of these videos have the most sickening bin Laden worship. Oh, I mean, it makes me want to throw up. And then to know our government has used this to take my liberties, your liberties, gut the country, get rid of the Bill of Rights, spy on us, and they're running the terrorists publicly. And I think they've jumped the shark here. And now you have a top Syrian deputy foreign minister coming out. We even have this other clip from Saudi Arabia we haven't played yet. We're going to play that after that press TV report with the video of the Saudi Arabian intelligence chief threatening the Russians that they're going to attack Russia with al-Qaeda forces if they don't back out. I mean, this is wild how the bankers use these jihadis as their secret army and then play both sides like, oh, we're worried about al-Qaeda. And then a lot of times you'll have a real jihadi who actually thinks they're fighting America, but up the chain, they've got a globalist boss. So this is big news up on Infowars.com. An explosive declaration. Syria's deputy foreign minister has now come out on record in declaring that the U.S., Britain, and France were instrumental in aiding the chemical attacks on Syria through a network of terrorists inside the country. And it's not just them. Even WorldNet Daily is saying that. And it was the same group that even Yahoo 8 months ago reported on, yes, and showed the evidence that, yes, they staged the chemical attack. Also, folks, we have Anthony Gucciardi here with StoryLeak.com. His great site. He's lived in Austin a few years ago, does great work with Mike Adams of NaturalNews.com as well. And he said, hey, well, I ought to come in and help out as a reporter. I said, that's the exact idea I have. So he's teamed up with us as well. Man, this is big, and this is getting no attention, this Reuters report, but you went and found his full statement. Anthony, break this down for us.
Exactly. So do you remember when it was a conspiracy theory to say that we were working with the Syrian rebels to actually go in and launch the chemical attack, or even working with al-Qaeda? Well, now we've found not only this Reuters report, but there's a bunch of other reports from The Independent as well. Like, does Obama know he's fighting on al-Qaeda's side? So it's now 100% admitted.
And that's on Drudge. That's going to really make the globalists mad.
Yes, exactly. But check out this report. So this one now from Reuters, the headline is actually deceptive. It says, it doesn't even talk about in the headline how we're actually aiding the al-Qaeda terrorists, but it talks about how Europe is next. But in the first paragraph, as I report on Infowars, and it was up on StoryLeak as well, basically what's going on is this foreign official from Syria said not only did the U.S. aid the al-Qaeda terrorists who carried out these chemical attacks, but he went to the UN immediately and showed them all of the information, and they disregarded it. He went straight to the UN.
And now we learn, Kerry said, do not look at that. You're ordered to not look at it.
And now we know why.
Boy, this is so obvious.
It is so obvious. And let me show you something else. This Yahoo report from January of 2013. Is this, are they psychic or what? Check out how they reference Infowars. It says, U.S.-backed plan to launch chemical weapon attack on Syria. Blame it on Assad government. That's from Yahoo earlier this year. The Obama administration gave green signal to a chemical weapons attack plan in Syria that could be blamed on Assad's regime and in turn spur international military action in the devastated country, leaked documents have shown. I linked up to that article in Yahoo News. That's the #1 website in the world. They just beat out Google. The #1 trafficked website in the whole world, the biggest news site, the biggest search engine, whatever, says U.S.-backed plan to launch chemical weapon attack on Syria. So now it is not only admitted, the mainstream media was forced to cover it, and that's what we call headline bombing. And as it turns out, it's 100% accurate. The chemical weapons attack on Syria to launch war.
And then the jihadis are so out of control, they videotape themselves doing it, and WorldNet Daily's covering it.
How about the fact that they behead Christians as well? This one says they beheaded pretty much an entire village, cut off their heads with a small knife to a cheering crowd of dozens. So they're going and doing this, and it even mentions, this is the Washington Times, by the way. It says, the reported beheading of the 2 Christians comes about the same time America has started sending arms to the rebel fighters.
Well, the head of al-Qaeda has come out, Zawahiri, and praised the U.S. for its loving event and helping with the rebels, and that's like mainstream news. You've got, I mean, this is insanity.
Imagine how brainwashed we are. What happened during September 11? The boogeyman al-Qaeda terrorists were to blame. And now the boogeyman al-Qaeda terrorists are our greatest allies, and Syria is to blame. And I think we've talked about this before. But
we've entered 1984.
We have entered 1984, but Syria is a distraction almost. It's about the Russians. The Russians are launching a hot war on the U.S., and we're actually instigating it because Russia is supporting Assad, and we are supporting the Syrian rebels. This is much greater than Syria. Syria is an issue, and we don't want the war because it will turn into World War III, but it's really a distraction from this ultimate hot, incendiary World War III scenario, because when we go in and we have Israel blow up the Russian missile caches and then say it wasn't them, and ultimately it comes out through CNN that it was them, according to U.S. intel officers who don't want World War III to happen, now we see it's a hot scenario. So it's ultimately going to build to World War III.
Let me ask this question. Why do some elements in the U.S., Europe, France especially wants this, and Israel, some elements in Israel? I mean, it really is madness. But it's the same question. Why did John Corzine make 40-to-1 bets against other people's money? I mean, they're crazy people.
They control people. We can go to actually something called Codex Alimentarius, is how that works as a health group, the largest health group in the world, where they vote on what supplements you're allowed to take and everything like that. And how the U.S. works is they bully these small islands and everything like that to vote in favor of the U.S., including France and U.K. and everything like that.
That's right. That's right. Criminal elements in our government and the State Department, on record, get all the third world countries to outvote our American Congress and the rest of it. It's incredible.
I have insiders inside Codex, the only one authorized in the United States of America, and he goes in and he says that basically what the U.S. does is if they don't go along with the U.S. program, they threaten them with trade wars. So they say, if you don't agree with us on allowing aspartame to be in food or whatever it is, then we're going to go ahead and launch trade wars against you. We're going to put sanctions on you and ultimately destroy your economy. This is bullying. This is what's going to lead to World War III, because as you see in that report over there from Reuters, not just the U.S. aided these al-Qaeda terrorists, but it was also the U.K. and France and other nations as well. So they're pulling them all into this.
And the key is they're saying these guys are going to attack you with this.
Yes.
Which shows their understanding, because I've been saying over and over again, the next plan is to turn the jihadis loose on us with the missiles. And they think we're so dumb, Anthony, that they'll go, we've got to take your rights. Al-Qaeda hit us. The
Reuters comments, you can read some. They said, why would they attack Europe if the Europeans are controlling the jihadists? This answers the question. They are controlling their own officers to attack other countries and then unleash them like we saw in the U.S. They used them in the 80s and 90s, Al-Qaeda, and then they used it on the United States.
Why can't adults, I remember when Episode 3 of Star Wars came out, the only good one of the next three, really. And again, I'm kind of a fan, as you know, in a cheesy way. Sure. But the storyline, everyone was asking George Lucas, like months after it came out, we don't understand your storyline. And it was so simple. Emperor Palpatine has become emperor by staging an attack on his own planet, to then become a prominent senator, saying they hadn't done enough, then to stage more attacks on the imperial planet under emergency to make himself chancellor, and then to finally make himself emperor and shut up the Jedi and say they're all traitors. And it turns out he was running it's literally Al-Qaeda people, it's sand folks, you know, from desert planets, attacking, and then he double crosses and kills all them, and then wipes everybody out. And he said, this is what's really going on with 9/11. That's a quote. Obviously showing he's a 9/11 truther, basically. Right. Explaining how geopolitical both sides work. And I think it was Vanity Fair that interviewed him, said, we still don't understand. Adults cannot understand this.
They play the same thing over and over again. Do you remember the report I did on the CIA?
They can't understand a Star Wars movie.
They can't.
That has this plot.
And Reagan assisted, you know, Reagan can do no wrong. He assisted Saddam Hussein, and the CIA did, in launching chemical attacks from Iraq to Iran so Iraq could seal a victory. Do you remember that in the 80s?
Yeah, they were losing, and the CIA authorized with the weather reports and the satellites, and even sold them rapidly the British 18-wheelers that could pump up hydrogen balloons.
Yep.
So the CIA could direct the chemical weapons, because they didn't have good GPS then, with the cameras. And then that's why they had the list of those, and then later said, these are anthrax trucks.
From Saddam Hussein.
The ones they shipped in to help run the chemical attack. Absolutely, yeah.
They helped them, and then they attacked them. They helped Saddam Hussein. He was great. We need to help him. Well,
they put him in power, actually.
Exactly, yeah. They control him, and then they also go and attack them. Just like Al-Qaeda, they owned Al-Qaeda and controlled Al-Qaeda, and then they make them the bad guy. Now they're the good guy again. This happens over and over again. The chemical attack pattern. We launched the chemical attacks from Iraq towards Iran to justify military action. Now we're launching chemical attacks for the Syrian rebels who behead Christians on Syria to justify military action. It happens over and over again.
And so many good old boys, like I heard one this morning on syndicated radio going, well, good, we got both sides killing each other. You idiot. The globalists don't care about you either. They're going to use al-Qaeda to take your liberties here. Anthony, the story's up on Infowars.com, StoryLeak.com, and PrisonPlanet.com. Great job.
Thank you.
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.